Hi subscribers, hi viewers. I've got a question about childcare in China. And people, they're so curious about the one-child policy. People who are not well informed about China, they still think like it's a one-child policy. And actually it's a three-children policy now. You can have up to 3 children, and the government is doing its best to encourage people to have 3 children. They've done so in a lot of ways that I'll discuss later in the video. And I have actually seen people with 5 children in China. Although you get fined, they say you get fined, it all depends on where you are. If you live in rural China and away from the cities, I think you can have up to 10 children, as many children as you want, because the laws there are not strict. And if you can raise them, it's fine. But if you get caught like with more than the recommended number, you just get a fine. It's not like something you force into sterilization like what the media says. No, you just get a fine. So now I want to talk about childcare. Childcare is very expensive in China, and Chinese couples are really preferring not to have children. It's not just like the childcare. I'm talking about the nursery, anything related to children. It is very expensive. No wonder why people are preferring not to have any children. But to have a child in China, both couples, you need to be working. You need to be having a stable source of income, because without an income you cannot afford to raise a child. My nursery bill alone is 1.2 US dollars, $1,200 US dollars, which is 1,200 US dollars a month. My wife is working, I am working, so it's not an issue for us. But if you cannot afford that, which means that you're missing out on work, and with the living expenses, especially in big cities, you will be in trouble. Beijing is very an expensive place. I live in Beijing. This is Beijing traffic. I've lived in Guhan, which is outside Beijing. Just it's a different district, Hebei, if you know about Hebei. There's a lot of industrial facilities there, manufacturing facilities there. I moved there just before COVID, and I lived there for almost a year. I cannot disclose the month. And after that, I moved to Tianjin, which was Wuqing. Wuqing was very good because there's a fast train. In China, if you live somewhere where it's called the fast train line, it is very good, because what happens is you just have, it's no matter how fast it is, the train travels at I forgot, it's very fast. I'm talking about almost 300 kilometers an hour. You understand? 300, if you're doing miles, you'll have to do the math. So almost 300 kilometers an hour. So traveling 300 kilometers, it will take you approximately an hour. Traveling something like 150 kilometers, it will take you approximately half an hour. So you can live out of the city and work in the city. And transport is very cheap. So that's when I had my daughter. I had my daughter in Beijing. We decided to go to Hebei. There was no childcare at that time, so it was really affordable. And having my daughter living with us, during the lockdown, it was quite good. Then after that, when the lockdown was opened a little bit, it was just like a partial lockdown. Beijing has never been on a full lockdown since the whole of COVID. It has been a partial, maybe like from the outside and everything. But like I was saying, my daughter was still young then, a newborn baby. So the costs were really low. But you discover that when you're buying stuff for your kids, you have to pay a little bit more, and you have to buy, it all depends with quality. Having a child in China, you don't have, or a baby, you don't have to risk to buy goods that are not good quality brands, because kids are more likely to be poisoned with the baby milk scandal. Even we're talking about clothes, what your child will wear, you have to make sure that it's good quality, and you buy it from a reliable supplier or reliable retailer. You cannot take chances from that one. And moving to hi.
要不要学游泳吗？
游泳 OK 好的谢谢。
记得找我，我叫倩倩。
OK
点点16年是。
OK 我的电话。
感谢。
OK sure. So sorry, I was getting the gym stuff. So what's happening is like I said, we moved to, what to say, sorry, I was distracted by the lady who was trying to sell me a gym membership there. So we moved to Wuqing. Wuqing is very one of the best places that I've lived, but it is very cold. It is in Tianjin, and I really love Wuqing so much that we decided to get an apartment with my wife in Tianjin. Tianjin is a port city as well, eco-friendly, and really a metropolitan, diverse metropolitan place. So then we start seeing, we're still on the cost of living, the cost of raising a child, don't worry. I did not expect a lot. I was doing the babysitting, so my wife was working in Beijing, so she'll commute actually something like 6 days a week, midday, and come back in the evening. Although the commuting was not like that long, it will just take a couple of minutes for her. So with that happening is I will babysit my daughter and work from home. At that moment I was doing the shipping business. No expense of childcare, no expenses of anything. So now we relocated to Beijing. My daughter is growing up now, and she's almost like 3. We now really seriously need childcare. We took her to a nursery. It's what you have to understand about China is this: if your child does not have the local residency, the local residency happens like this. Because they're trying to limit urban migration, you cannot take your child to a local government nursery. So you have got to take your child to a private nursery. And you cannot buy, if you do not have Beijing's residence permit, you cannot buy an apartment. So it happens all over China. It's a system in China to limit migration to one area, but after it is complicated for even for Chinese enough. It is complicated enough for Chinese. So my wife, although she's not from Tianjin, she managed to get the residency in Tianjin. So we got the apartment, and we were very lucky because it is the place that we chose to reside in. And now we came back, like I was saying, talking about Beijing, taking my daughter to nursery. That's when childcare expenses started occurring for us, and having to take the little girl. Now she talks, now she can walk, and having a father that's a foreigner and the mother that's a Chinese. She lived with the grandparents for 6 months, and that's when she came back only speaking Chinese, no English. So it was best for us to take her to an English nursery, and she's doing good. She can communicate in both. She's less than 3 now. She can that's a toy, that's a in a bike. She can communicate both in Chinese and English. If you want to find someone like that looks after your children, I have my wife's cousin, a very close friend of mine in China. He'll say he's the closest person to me in China. I've been to his place. He owns 2 apartments and everything. This young man can afford a maid. He can afford a maid. And taking a look, a maid will cost although it's in Tianjin, will cost something like over $1,000 a month. The nursery will be another, if you are an outsider, it will cost another $1,000 a month. We're talking about Beijing here, and we're talking about the food bills, excluding the food bill, the household food bills. We're talking about they'll go for something like up to $100 a week. Actually, it's far cheaper than that. So activities for taking your daughter out, although some parks and everything, they user friendly, the zoos and everything, if you can watch some videos, they will cost you a little bit more. So living in Beijing, maybe I am saying it is expensive because I live in Beijing. But now I want to explain, to go back to the topic. Sorry, I got lost a little bit. It's I want to go back to the topic of what the government is doing to encourage the 3-child policy. The government went ahead and did shut down a couple of private schools, private nurseries, because it was saying they were expensive and people are choosing not to have children because they cannot afford. And it is the truth. You cannot have or raise a child living in a household of one person's income. You cannot do that. Although the Chinese family and tradition is quite different when it comes to parents, the grandparents, and the child and the babies. So it is quite different than, I can say, the African culture or the European cultures. The grandparents want to be directly involved in the raising of their grandchildren. I've seen it with a lot of families, not only my family. No wonder why I decide to go take my daughter. She was being more attached to my wife's family, to her grandparents, and she really did not care about the foreign culture and everything, learning another language. Although she was a little bit smarter, I have seen it with Chinese grandparents. They really prefer, it's a cultural thing, to be directly involved. And some couples, what they do is they take their children to go live with their grandparents. And grandparenthood in China and parenthood, it's really less likely to find single parents in China. I have lived here for a couple of years now, and I am yet to meet what we call a single parent, a single mother or a single father. culturally it is very, very unheard of that one marries and divorces once you got a child. So you've got to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to put your child first. And not leaving the topic of what China has done, the Chinese government. Like I said, they shut down the private nurseries, the private schooling and everything, so that to encourage people to be able to afford childcare. That's my experience that I've narrated here. You can tell what it is. It's children behind the scooters. Every scooter that you see right now is parents going to take their children from the nurseries, from the schools, or from whatever it is. And that's a grandparent in that, I don't know what to call it, that scooter bike. And everywhere you see, it's just like grandparents or parents with their children. Everything that a Chinese parent will do, they will put the child first. And please be advised, there is nothing called the social welfare. There is nothing called the safety net here in China. You cannot have a child if you cannot afford to raise the child. You need to make sure that you can afford to raise and provide for the child. There is another parent with a child. These small cars are actually for grandparents, mainly grandparents, to go pick up their children from school. Anyway, this is the hospital where my daughter was born. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and like the video.